great pleasure to welcome to the program this week Dr. Iman Bibars, Chairperson of the Association for the Development and Enhancement of Women, ADEW. Dr. Bibars, your NGO recently conducted a study on harassment in shanty towns and deprived areas. What were some of the findings?
It's very important to say that harassment, whether it is sexual or not, because I'm going to talk about what I think of harassment now, it has become a phenomena in Egypt. I think it was different before the revolution than after, but anyway, it became so much, such a big phenomena that we decided, let us see what happens in the squatter areas, in the marginalized areas. And these are the areas where we work, where we have our constituencies, right? So we conducted research with 500 women, right, between the ages of 12 and 40. The majority, more than 90%, were either veiled, covering their hair, or with a niqab, which is like covering their face, or with a khimar, which covers half of their body. And only a minority were not covered, because in these areas usually are the Christians who are not covering their hair for social pressures. So this is very important, because it was from 12 to 14 years old, the majority were people who are covered. So this whole claim by some of the parties that it's the women's way of dressing, which we disagree with, but even this claim does not exist. The 500 women we interviewed had all been sexually harassed or harassed one way or the other, by word, by touching, by even more than touching, by molesting, and that was terrible, okay? We found out that a lot of them, all of them, were harassed. Most of them, 59% or more, were harassed in the streets. So in the streets, the main streets or the streets within their communities, right? 40% or a little bit less were harassed in the transportation, whether it's the bus or the metro. And very few were harassed, around 3% in the university. But that's also because not all of them were at university level. So we're talking about women who are covered, women who are not that well educated, and women who are just going to their work sometimes or trying to sell something that were harassed in different areas.
And it happens during the day, not just by night.
Actually, the majority were the day. Actually, 90% were during the day. And what is interesting, one of the questions we asked was, how did the street react? You know, like this is Egypt, the Egypt of the macho man, the Egypt of the guy who supports the girl, the Egypt who thinks that she's his sister and his mother. Fascinating was that 60 or 70% of the responses were nobody said anything. So she was harassed in the street, whether by touching or by molesting or by word, and nobody said anything. 30%, the people in the street would say to the guy, no, don't do this. But again, not active support. And some cases, 2%, they even laughed, which again is shocking, because this is the reaction of a conservative Egyptian society towards the undermining and humiliation and insulting of girls, of women. This is a society that claims that we want to protect our women, that we think highly of our women. Here they are, and again, I want to repeat, these women were covered, munaqabat, completely veiled, or khimar, which is up till here, or covering their hair. 90% or even 92% of them were like that. So it has nothing to do with how she dresses, although I am against the idea of how she dresses.
Dr. Bibars, you mentioned that it's common practice in Egypt, and it has been for many years now. What do you believe are the causes of this phenomena?
I'd like to differ. I don't think it's common practice. And I also want to differentiate between the type of harassment that was taking place before the revolution and after the revolution, and especially the last 8 or 9 months. Before the revolution, it was sexual harassment. It was, and I believe the reasons were the fact that kids were not able to get married. I mean, this is also reflected in the Urfi marriage, for example, universities. I mean, when you're at university, when you're growing, when you want to create a family, when you have your own sexual desires, you don't have any plan for the next 10 or 20 years. You don't even know when you're getting married, unless a young girl would marry an old guy. You know, the demands for marriage, of having an apartment, of having the whole apartment, you know, with all the furniture, the cost of the marriage was so expensive that it really hindered and became a real obstacle in front of anybody who wants to get married.
But some of the harassers are married men.
No, that's another time. This is now. No, I'd like to say that a lot of that before the revolution was not as many married men as now. Before the revolution, and we were monitoring that. Of course, there were married men who are sick. There are married men who saw that this is why not we do that. There are married men who also are not educated, and this is the second reason. So the first reason is the marriage and the fact that people are not married, especially the young kids, you know, like in the 20s or whatever. The second thing is the lack of sexual education. I mean, marriage is not just marriage. You need to know how to treat your wife. You need to know how to relate with your wife. In our conference today, for example, one of the priests and one of the Islamic religious leaders was talking about how the sexual relationship itself has its own rules and regulations, and it has to be something that both partners understand very well. Marriage is not like the movies, you know, you end up with a wedding dress. Marriage is the whole life. It's the beginning of your life. And there must be good scientific sexual education where there is mutual respect, where our religion, Islam in particular, cares very much about how the wife and husband in their most intimate relationship deal with each other. You know, because it understood that this is the core of a healthy family. So this is another reason. That was before the revolution. What we have now is not sexual harassment, and I completely disagree with anybody who says it's sexual harassment. It's an act of violence to exclude women.
And mob violence, gang rapes.
Exactly, but it's not, and the rape is not even the goal. The goal here is that we have collective, intentional, planned violence against women to exclude them, to get them out of the streets, out of the public life. It is based on the beliefs of certain groups that women should not be in the street, that they look in a very humiliating way for women. They want to humiliate women so that their fathers and their brothers and even the women themselves are afraid to go. It's really making the streets unsafe for women so that women do not go out of the house. So it is no longer, in my opinion, a sexual harassment. After a movie by a certain actress or dancer and people get too excited and they harass little girls, it is collective and planned.
Systemic and targeted, as you said. It's only recently that women have started speaking out and taking a stand against harassment. Is breaking the silence, do you think, a first step in resolving the issue?
I agree. I mean, some women had started already before the revolution, but we all, I mean, in spite of all some of the negative things that are happening now, and it's because we're in transition, we have to say that the revolution, the 25th of January, gave voice to everybody. Gave voice to the young kids, the young adults who were marginalized, gave voice to women, gave voice even to now the divorced women. A lot of the middle class and women who were housewives or women who were not really politically active are now fighting back because of the fundamentalists who are trying to repeal a law of marriage and divorce, for example. So because although it's based on Islam. So what I'm saying here is that it gave us voice. So yes, the breaking of the silence is the first step, but also it is due to the revolution that all these young people, I'm so proud of these young people from 18 to 30 who are coming up with new initiatives, who are doing the harassment map or catch a harasser or the revolution of the Egyptian girls. All these are young kids. I mean, for me, they're young kids, they're young adults who have now, they have voice, and because they have voice, they also allowed others. You know, there is also the guard, the
Tahrir bodyguard.
The Tahrir bodyguard. I mean, all these young people I am so proud of, and I would, you know, we're happy to have some of them in our session. We're happy to support them if we can. I believe that every action from people old like us, from young people, from government officials, from parties are essential. Nothing should be exclusive. We all should work together. We all should work, in every one of us, to work on a particular part of it, so that we can all create an environment and a society that is healthy, that is not impotent, that is sure of itself, and that really conveys the real ethos of Islam and Christianity.
So raising awareness about the issue is part of the solution. You and other rights activists have long been calling for legislation to curb harassment. Is a law against harassment, would that be enough to resolve the issue?
Laws are not enough. And we have seen, I mean, we had laws now for personal status law, and now the fundamentalists are attacking them, although they're based on Sharia. There are already laws in the criminal law in Egypt whereby it could really be used for harassment. But it is a matter of principle. Once you create a law, it creates debate and it creates awareness. So the law is a tool now. By raising the topic, by coming up and getting the specialists, by getting the laws to come up, and then the religious groups to come in, the good religious groups, the ones who are moderate, who are enlightened, then you start a debate, you start a dialogue. That is why I am calling for a legislation. Not because I think that it will be implemented now, but because it will create a debate and dialogue in society by which every religious group, the fundamentalists, but also the moderates, will come in and show the true essence of the religions, and especially Islam.
And the change of attitude, of course, has to come from both men and women. It's about changing the mindset of everyone in the society.
Of course, but I mean, men and women should all be pro the freedom and the respect and the belief in equality between men and women. But also, I also would like to say that all this attack that women are the ones who are, the ones who are really perpetuating this, women are the ones who are against women, I do not agree with. If you are a woman that is born into a family and your mother realizes that the only condition for you to be respected is to get married, and that there are conditions for you to get married because society is too powerful, and you are poor and you're not educated, or you're slightly educated, come on. You want your girl married because that's the only thing you understood all your life, So if you decide even to circumcise the girl, I cannot blame you. I should educate you, but not say, oh, it's only the mother who does this. She does this because she realizes that if she does not circumcise her girl, she might not get married and her reputation will be ruined and nobody to take care of them, both of them. So it is not, I really have a problem with us, especially, educated elites who come in and say, oh, it is the women who are against women. No. It's the environment. It is the infrastructure. There is no there is no institutional alternative to the male provider. There is no institutional alternative to being on your own and protecting your daughter. If you give her an alternative, if we raise the awareness of men, if the policymakers are on our side, if the media is on our side, and you've seen the study we've done with the media and how a lot of the newspapers were against women, in the personal status law and in the harassment, then we come into the uneducated woman and then we complain against her. You know what I mean? So, yes, she's wrong, but we need to educate her and support her, not just educate her. Give her the tools so that she can stand up to all the people surrounding her.
You mentioned female genital mutilation. That's one form of violence against women. Harassment is another type of violence. And you've also founded the first house for battered women in Qalyubiyya, I believe.
Yeah. It's House of Eve, and we intentionally, it was established in 2005, and we intentionally called it the House of Eve because we believe that all Egyptians should be there, and Eve is the mother of all women. So it was very important for us. This house originally was for women who are battered, so that they can stay for a short period, and then we train them and support them psychologically and socially, and try to find them jobs so that they go somewhere else.
That house has given a safe haven for many women who would have otherwise been on the street, perhaps.
Of course. Thousands of women came. Not only this, battered women, raped women, victims of rape, victim of incest. All of them we supported. And to be honest, in cooperation with the Ministry of Interior, before the revolution, and the people who are, and also the Ministry of Social Affairs and the Ministry of Health. Because at that time, in particular, that governorate with Adli Hussein, who was a great governor, there was a lot of support for women issues, which we don't find now.
Dr. Bibars, the United Nations recently issued a document on violence against women, one that stirred a great deal of controversy and debate between ultra-conservatives and liberals in Egypt. Why the controversy? What was in that document that was so controversial?
I would bet that many of the people who were against it have not read it, to start with. I mean, the type of, the type of, oh, this is an imperial attack on us, this is a way to dismantle the family, this is against religion, is not true. And to tell you that it's not true, many Islamic countries have certified it. Actually, no, did not certify that document. USA. So, I mean, if we are going to talk about...
I read that Russia, the Vatican, and some other Muslim countries had some reservations about that document.
Well, you see, some has reservations, but I want you to know that a country that did not sign it ever in the past or now is the USA. Now, do they consider USA a religious country? As a country, there are religious people, but no. But what I'm saying is that, again, there is a confusion about what is religion and what is not religion. People who are conservative take any chance or tool or opportunity to say, oh, we're not doing this because it's against religion. There are articles in the document that might not appeal to certain culture or certain religions. And the reservations are acceptable. And Egypt has always reserved.
Do you, as an activist, support that document fully?
As an activist, I do. there is one or two articles that I might have reservations in order to have certain definitions, you know, and I would understand that that's why Vatican would not accept it. I might have reservations because of my country, not because of my beliefs, because I believe that everybody is free to do whatever they want to, and there is God will take care of each one of us alone, you know, on that day. You know, nobody will be supportive to another person, even to your own mother or your own kid. So what I'm saying is that I can understand one or two articles that we might have reservations on. But apart from that, no, I am completely supportive.
Finally, looking ahead, are you a little bit more optimistic about the situation of women because seeing those women who were harassed or sexually assaulted in Tahrir speak out on in all the media, does that give you optimism that there will be change?
That act gives me optimism that women are strong, but I'm not optimistic. I'm actually very worried about Egypt in general, about everything that's happening in Egypt, and about women, in, you know, and minorities. I think that we are passing through a very tough transitional period, and unless all Egyptians unite against everything that is against our culture, against our moderate Islam, all of us, we should never separate, we should not label each other, we should not try to say who is more loyal and who is more Egyptian than the other. All true patriotic Egyptians should sit together, support each other, because we want to move forward. We did a revolution so that we can really start rebuilding Egypt. Egypt, which was the center of the Arab world. Egypt, which started the Renaissance in this part of the world. Egypt, that had the best educated people, the most civilized people. Egypt, the center of art, the center of philosophy, the center of moderate religion. Azhar should be our only source for Islam, and we should be more tolerant towards other religions, and we should not find ways to separate each other.
Thank you very much, Dr. Iman Bibars, Chairperson of ADEW. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much.